Some of you may not know this, but there is another Diablo game technically out there. This isn't a Dead Games No One Played because you've played that game. It's Diablo 1, but it's not a Diablo 1 that you may have seen up until now. When I first played the game, I had a bit of an obsession with it, namely with its limitations. Tristan was such a gloomy, atmospheric place that I just wanted to stay there on the surface and rummage around to see what else is there. What lies beyond that fence, that little stone wall you could just vault over if you only had the ability to. It seems like a bit of the ground is yellow in one part as if there were some construction near it. I'll never know, will I? What's beyond the river? What's on the other side? I really wanted to know. There was probably nothing out there. I should have, started with that idea in mind, but I really wanted to explore this world more. But at the time, I really couldn't. So I did what any very curious person would do. I started digging into the files of the game and found, at first, nothing, until I came across a tool called the MPQ editor, and it allowed me to open up the MPQ file, the main data file of Diablo 1, and peer into the endless list of consecutively named files that revealed so many mysteries to me. This was way before I had access to the internet. It was before I could actually get something useful like a list with the names of the files so that I can load it into MPQ editor and make my job easier and actually discern what those files are. It was before I had access to communities where people talked about the features that were cut out of Diablo 1. It was before any of this. So on my own, many years ago, I set out to try and find out exactly what was the deal here. Because I found things in those files that were not in Diablo 1, but they looked like they were just under the surface hiding, waiting to be unlocked if I just did something very specific.
She said that if you were to leave the proper offering in the cemetery, enter the cathedral to pray for the dead, and then return, the offering would be altered in some strange way.
Of course, they weren't actually in the final game, accessible in the game, but they were still in the files. And well, there's a lot to Diablo 1 that's not known, not obvious at least. It's known to the people that played it, people that loved it, people that were interested in it, but maybe not to everybody else. This is the Other Diablo, one that contains a lot of content that you may see in Diablo 2. It was a grander game and one with a bit more of a sense of impending doom to it because there was a time limit. Much like the comet in Diablo 3 foretold the return of the primevals, there was a stellar alignment due to happen in Diablo 1. And if it did not manage to defeat the evil when the stars aligned, Diablo would be at his peak and much more formidable. There's even a cinematic left in the game. It's associated with a star map that was initially in Diablo 1 but isn't there anymore. Unless, you get the expansion Hellfire and surprise, it's there, but it serves a different purpose. Hellfire gets a little flack because it's not official. It was just made as a cash, and a quick cash in by Sierra. It's got absolutely no relation to Diablo. It's probably the closest thing you'll have to a properly made completion of Diablo 1. Not just because it lets you run in Tristan, but because a lot of the content that you see in Hellfire is actually cut content from Diablo 1. It uses ideas and things that were in the game files. The main antagonist of the game, Nakruel, that was in Diablo 1, but the place he is in, technically, should have been. Nakruel was summoned by Horizon the Summoner, the guy from Diablo 2 whose sanctum you visit. That sanctum was supposed to be in Diablo 1, or at least not in the twisty-turny, physics-defining way it was in Diablo 2, but a version of it would have been in Diablo 1. Only he had not summoned Nakruel in Diablo 1 in the original version, he had summoned Osmodan and Belial. Now, those names may be familiar if you've played Diablo 3, because they're some of the main baddies in that game. But they were part of the lore from the beginning, and they were supposed to show up in this game. Horizon summoned them, and they were fighting continuously, one against another, because they were the only ones left in hell and they were vying for power, and their battle sort of spewed over into the mortal realm, and you were supposed to deal with with them. Bits and pieces of that quest remain in Diablo 1, which is why it was reused as the basis for the main plot of Hellfire. Asmodon and Belial, though, were not the only other primevals to show up in Diablo 1. Andariel was there, and here's the thing, she wasn't technically in a dungeon under the church. This is what really got me excited about the game, about what could have been. You were told by several characters that there were strange lights in the forest, luring men away, and they disappeared. And you would go there, in a forest, next to Tristram, a forest! Oh my god, I would have loved to explore a forest in Diablo 1. Just think about it, Diablo 1's visual style, its mood applied to a forest, one filled with succubi and Andariel. And I do believe the quest was given to you by Jillian.
Beg pardon, but have you heard what has been happening? Some of the men have vanished from the village. Disa's sons, Aeneas and Ruf, claim to have seen strange lights glowing deep within the woods a few days ago, but no one has heard from them since. I too have seen a crimson shimmering from beyond the ash groves, but I've been too afraid to approach it. I fear that Ogden or our healer Pepin may be next. Won't you please find out what has happened?
Jillian was not useless in the original version of Diablo 1. She got the shaft badly in the final version. They did try and make it up to her in Hellfire by giving her a bit of a quest, but in Diablo 1 she actually had a bigger role to play. And her grandmother, I don't think she would appear, but her visions would be more than just small anecdotes with, oh, my grandmother dreamed that you would come see me today. No, they were full-on foretellings of the future, like serious stuff. Farnham too, he's just a drunk in Diablo 1. Yeah, he went down to catacombs and got really screwed up there. But in the original version, he didn't go into the catacombs. Well, he did, but he didn't stop there. When he kept on running, he went straight down to hell. And not just hell, he went straight down to the Pandemonium Fortress. It was there. Act 4 of Diablo 2 was there. There was also a mention of an island on a sunless sea. Just the name of it, the island on a sunless sea. Man, that sounds so cool. So poetic. You could hear the people in town talking about it.
This legendary place is real, and great rewards await you should you find it. Nothing more can I say.
Would be what Adria said about it. And you would get a lot more stuff that's very deeply tied into the lore of Diablo. And I still love reading all the stories in the manual about the sin or about the fall of the angel Iswal, who was in the game. Farnham saw him. You were supposed to go down and release him, I believe. And as a reward, you may have actually gotten Azurath, like the sword Azurath. It's in the game. Like this is a picture of all the items in the game that are not actually in the game. Up there you can see Azurath and Shadowfang. Their importance has severely diminished in the lore, starting with Diablo 2. But in Diablo 1, they were some of the most powerful artifacts in the world. I can't remember for certain which one came first, but one of them was made as a reaction to the other. And Shadowfang, you find that in Diablo 2 as well. It's but in Diablo 1, it was not In Diablo 1 it was a sword so powerful, so evil that you had to destroy it. You had a quest to destroy it. Then you had a character associated with it. A character that has speech in the game for pretty much every quest and is mentioned by name by pretty much every character, but all those lines are cut from the final version. And that character is Tremaine, the priest of Zakarum.
Lazarus has paid the price for his betrayal, and justice is served. For your services this day, I bestow this mace unto you. Its name is Lightforge, and it is the holiest of our order's artifacts.
He wouldn't be a permanent fixture of Tristram. He would come and go depending on, well, what quests you got. The randomness of the quests in Diablo 1 was really something that gave it charm. You never knew for certain what you were getting into when you were playing the game. I think there were 16 quests in total and you could only get 11 of them, so you had to replay it. I just kept hoping that one of the quests I would get would be the one where you go into business with Griswold, as he keeps mentioning that he has people at the edge of the village waiting for him to send them goods so they can give own supplies and stuff and gold, but that wasn't in the final version of the game, and neither was Tremaine or Shadowfang. Tremaine would send you on a bunch of quests. One of them was the actual quest to kill Lazarus, the Archbishop. You could actually not do that quest, and you would then have to fight Lazarus and Diablo at the same time. And you gave it a quest to destroy Shadowfang that you first had to take from the demon Flesh Doom, and then I believe it was supposed to be Exorcise or something, but when the priest actually got the sword, it killed him. Like it straight killed him. You hear him screaming,
Light be praised! You found the cursed demon blade! Only its destruction can ensure the safety of us all. Wait, what treachery is this? Oh, it burns! Hellfire consuming me! You must take this to the Hellforge and cast it in before... No!
At first I thought that actually your character killed him, like there was some choice, then you chose the sword instead of the priest. You know, keep the sword, kill the priest. That didn't really fit, so I think it was the sword that killed him. Like by itself, it was just too evil, and his attempts to dispel its wickedness failed and made him go boom. And then he would have to take the sword, I believe, to the Hellforge. You know, the place in Hell where you smash the Soul Stones in Diablo 2. I was there. A lot more of Hell was there. The thing is, Tremaine sort of still is in Diablo in Hellfire. There's a little girl that shows up in Hellfire called Celia. Well, you have to activate it by entering TheoQuest in the command.txt file that you can make in Hellfire to enable stuff that wasn't actually in the final version of the expansion. And that girl gives you a quest to find her teddy bear. And you do, and you give it back to her, and after you give it back to her, she vanishes. That's basically Tremaine's last quest. So vestiges of it are still there. It's kind of a shame about Hellfire 2. It was made in just a few months by Synergistic Software. They had basically no time to properly make the expansion they wanted to. That's why the Barbarian and the Bard are not actually available without editing a file first, and they don't have their own sprites like the Monk does. They had only a few months, like very little time to put this together, and yet they added back so many things that were in Diablo 1. Oils, they were in Diablo 1. They were supposed to be there. They're in the files. I think they completed a few spells too. There's a bunch of spells cut from the game. There was one that would make you invisible. There's one with a giant eye that was supposed to guard you against things, and when the eye opened to protect you, it basically made the sound for the town portal. It added the very valuable search skill that, you know, highlighted stuff on the ground, which, let's say, it makes Diablo 1 a lot more playable. Also the ability to run. And there have been a lot of attempts by the community to complete Diablo 1, to make it whole. I'm not exactly sure if any of them were actually taken to the fullest extent possible, if they were finished, or if they even added all the content back. I don't think... Well, I haven't actually done an in-depth search of all of them as I did a couple of years ago, but at the time some of them were already abandoned and they were still lacking some features like, well, Tremaine and a bunch of other stuff. But maybe they've resurfaced, maybe they're complete now. And if you want to learn more about what exactly was supposed to be in Diablo 1, I suggest you go look up a site called Diablo-evolution.net. I wasn't around when I found out about this. I mean, the closest thing I got to information was around 2004, I think, on Angel Fire, with a bunch of explanations about what Diablo 1 was supposed to have, which was based again on the information that I got from the game as well. Diablo Evolution goes into very good details about what was cut, how the versions of Diablo differ from each other, from the early alphas to the press betas and the final version. Going back to Diablo 1 and talking about what it could have been, what it should have been, had the people at Condor had a bit more time at their disposal, which they didn't. They really didn't. It makes me a bit nostalgic about a time when I had the passion and the spare time to just dig through the files of old video games. Because you could be sure there was always something there, something hidden, something great, something that alluded to what this could have been, may have been. Honestly, there's just two games that gave me this feeling: Diablo and the Legacy of Kain series, which is another superb example of so much cut content that you could make a couple of games out of it. But Diablo to me personally was special because I had no clue going in that I would actually find something, that I would be so amazed by what I found. I found basically a different game, a larger game, a gigantic sprawling game that let you run outside of Tristram, it let you go into houses, fight bugs in houses. It blew my mind. What could have been? What may have been, but wasn't. That's why when I look at Diablo 1, I identify it a bit with my expectations of the larger game, of the stuff that was taken out. It just sounded so much cooler than what we actually got. Not the Diablo 1's bad, I love it, but all the stuff that was there, that expanded and extended the universe, the game, the world, the lore, the gameplay, the story, it just made it feel fantastic. Now, of course, a lot of this is just my imagination filling in the blanks, and my imagination filled in the blanks in the very fun ways, but I still hope one day to see Diablo 1 as it should have been. Sadly, it probably won't come from Blizzard, because Blizzard kinda hates Diablo 1. I mean, it wasn't made by this Blizzard, so yeah, they do kinda hate it. Especially after, what's-his-face, the director that screwed up Diablo 3, made that statement about the guy that made Diablo 1. Also, they can't really, truly remake Diablo 1 because they completely retconned the entire story. Though, there were bits of Diablo 3 story that I agreed with. I thought, okay, yeah, that could work. I appreciated they tried to give a better definition to a decades-old story. One, it was made to be simpler, and then they, spoiler for Diablo 3 here, they made Deckard Cain get killed by some flunky, some 2-bit flunky that nobody ever heard of, nobody will remember. What the hell, dude? Just because you couldn't figure out what to do with Cain in the later chapters because, oh, we have someone else to take the role of the wise mentor type, so okay, let's ditch this guy. No, wait, that was Cain. That was one of the central pillars of the series. Nope, to the trash. There's a lot of disrespect in that action. I mean, a lot of disrespect. So, honestly, I don't expect Blizzard to really give the fans what they wanted. A Diablo 1 that looks like Diablo 1, feels like Diablo 1, and has all the content that Diablo 1 should have had, but plays like Diablo 2. Again, I encourage you to go look for yourself and see the wonders that could have been in the game, but aren't. Be it firsthand by exploring the files yourselves. That act of gaming archaeology was really a revelation for me, or by searching out through the internet, through the many pages that have sprouted up in the last decade that will give you all the details you would want. It's a shame you can't really do this with most modern games because there really isn't all that much information lost nowadays. I mean, if I want to learn something, I just call the developer. And heck, modding is so big right now that a game will last like what, 10 minutes before a team of 100 people already dug out all the unused content and made a mod that puts it back in. It's a much faster world now, where revelations like the one I had back in the day just don't seem as probable. But who knows, maybe out there's a game with so much under the surface that everybody overlooked. And another one of those hipster games that is made like that, just to be hipsterish, but you know, an actual game. Goodbye.